Hello, and welcome to the High Horror Society, everyone. If you cannot tell by my amazing humming abilities, beatbox abilities, and Kyle's little mask, we watched the 1978 classic, John Carpenter's Halloween. Music sticks with you, man. It's
does.
Incredible. So much to talk about with this movie. We just got done watching it. We're doing this in preparation for the new movie that is coming out.
Next week?
Next week or the week after?
Week after?
I don't
2 weeks?
recall. Yeah, it's coming out. Oh, geez. When's it coming out? I think it comes out on the 19th, so next Friday.
Yes. I'll be out of town, so we'll see it on the Monday.
We'll see it that following Monday, and we'll post an episode as soon as we see it, because I am excited to see it. Apparently, it's getting really good reviews. People are really enjoying it. They're saying awesome. It is a true sequel to the Halloween series. So
good.
Yeah, and we'll get into it a little bit more. We'll talk about the franchise a little bit in this. There's a lot to cover.
There is. There's too much to cover.
There was too much. Yeah, I actually talked to Kyle before the episode. I texted him earlier and I was like, dude, there's like enough shit for us to do 2 episodes on this. It is crazy.
Part 2?
So I have a little method here that I took to touch on the points that I want to make mentions, and then everything else we'll just say for the dogs.
Organized.
We can always come back and revisit the movie later.
For sure.
So John Carpenter's Halloween, obviously amazing classic film. Many people have seen it before.
Many.
Cast is Donald Pleasance as Dr. Sam. Donald Pleasance as Dr. Sam Loomis. Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode, and then Nick Castle as Michael Myers, or the Shape, as he's referred to in the
that's cool.
In the script and in the credits of the movie. The Shape. Yeah. Tony Moran is Michael Myers is unmasked at the end there.
Oh, okay.
And Will Sandin as Michael Myers as age 6, so Little Mikey.
Oh, Little Mikey.
PJ Souls as Linda Von Dirk Kluck. And then Nancy Keys is Annie Brackett. So kind of rounds out the... Oh, and I'm sorry, Charles Cyphers as Sheriff Lee Brackett. So Annie's father.
Yes.
It's the cop dad.
The cop dad.
Who didn't smell them smoking weed. It was like right there. It's like... dude, when I'm driving, I can... Like when I'm driving and I could be like... I'm like, someone's smoking weed in traffic. Like, I can smell that shit from like yards away. Like, this is a cop, and he's like looking right in the window, and he doesn't smell anything. That was just funny.
Right when they roll down the window.
Yeah.
It's like just blows right in his face.
So as you can see, we have Halloween right here. And I don't know if my camera can see it, but that's okay. Kyle's camera can see it, but we got it right here. So we did actually watch a DVD tonight. I think this is the first High Horror Society where we actually watched a physical disc of a movie.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just one we were streaming on Netflix or Amazon.
It's always been streaming. So we went old school.
We went old school for this. Yeah. We could have gone VHS. Yeah. Jesus Christ. We could have gone VHS if we really wanted to. But yeah.
We could do that still.
We could. So I have 2 synopses for this that I want to read. This one is very short and to the point. 15 years after murdering his sister on Halloween night in 1963, Michael Myers escapes from a mental hospital and returns to the small town of Haddonfield, Illinois, to kill again.
I used to live in that town.
No. Did you? You lived in Haddonfield, right next to Shermer, Illinois, right? All the made-up towns of Illinois.
Somewhere down south that nobody knows about.
No one knows.
Illinois.
The Haddonfield, Illinois, which conveniently looks a lot like California. So.
Just with fake leaves.
Fake leaves, though. You're going to spoil it. You're spoiling them. You're ruining the ambiance.
Sorry.
That's okay. So yeah, and then the other synopsis, which gives a lot more information, which is a lot longer, that I'm going to attempt to read for the first time here. The year is 1963, the night Halloween. Police are called to 43 Lumpkin Lane, only to discover that a 15-year-old Judith Myers has been stabbed to death by her 6-year-old brother Michael. After being institutionalized for 15 years, Myers breaks out on the night before Halloween. No one knows nor wants to find out what will happen on October 31st, 1978, besides Myers' psychiatrist, Dr. Loomis. He knows Michael is coming back to Haddonfield, but by the time the town realizes it, it may be too late for everyone.
Maybe.
So,
That doctor knew the whole time.
Oh fuck yeah, dude! Dr. Loomis called it. He knew.
Called
Even the
it.
cop was saying like, "Oh, I hope you're wrong. This
Yeah.
sounds like bullshit." No, Dr.
No.
Loomis was right.
He knew.
Yeah, he was there to save the day. So yeah, I just jumping right into the fun facts for this. There are so many fun facts to this movie. There are literally like several documentaries written about this. I mean, let's just pause for a second and talk about like this movie is a classic. I mean, this is the quintessential like I don't think this was the first slasher movie, but it was definitely the one that put slashers up front and center, mainstream for people. It paved the way for Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, and all that stuff, which we should do episodes on as well. Friday the 13th is actually a really interesting. Very similar to this. There's tons of stuff because it's just it's like all these indie budget movies like that took so much effort and time and like just people taking a chance on these kids and these people like it's crazy,
and it turned out good.
Yeah, it turned out phenomenal.
Like it worked.
Yeah. So jumping right into it, we all know Halloween's a classic. There are going to be spoilers galore in this discussion.
Of course.
If the movies, if you haven't seen it yet, please go see it. A new one's coming out in a week or two.
Very soon.
Yeah, so check them out.
Gotta go.
So, from a budget of $300,000, the film went on to gross $47 million at the U.S. box office.
Wow.
Yeah. So, definitely Halloween is considered one of the most successful independent films of all time.
That's
because of that.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Due to its shoestring budget, the prop department had to use the cheapest $2 mask they could find in a costume store. And that mask happened to be a Star Trek William Shatner mask from 1966. So they spray painted the face white. They teased out the hair. And, they cut out the eye holes or reshaped them a little bit. And that's the mask. That's Michael
so
Myers.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, how cool is that? It's just like they just found something and made it work, So apparently another fun fact. So William Shatner recently admitted for years that he had no idea his likeness was used for the movie. And it was only recently in an interview someone mentioned it to him, and he said that he was actually honored by it. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Go Shatner.
Yeah. So this is another interesting one. So we made comments of this as well when we were watching the movie, and all the girls are walking and talking down the street, and it's just like, yeah, these 25-year-old girls sure know how to play 16-year-olds. Like, thought that was funny. But of all the female girls in the movie, they're supposed to be in high school. Jamie Lee Curtis was the only one who was actually a teenager at the time. So she was probably like 19 years old, probably not even in high school, but like clearly everyone else was in like their early 20s. Like it was just
funny.
Like,
she
it
was
was
like
so
the most
apparent.
mature one there too.
Yeah,
and the other ones were like just fucking around and just being all weird and slutty.
Weird. Yeah.
Drinking beer.
Smoking weed. Getting caught by Michael Myers. But
oh, man.
I thought this was a really interesting fact. So John Carpenter's intent was that he didn't want the audience to ever relate to Michael Myers.
Oh,
which I thought was actually really well done. When you when I read that and thought back at the movie, like there is no moment that humanizes Michael in the movie. Like
he's
there's
like a robot. Like
he's just
ending.
Yeah, well, he does the sit up thing and he turns his head directly at the thing and exactly. There's no one moment where you're like, oh, I can sympathize with this poor man. Yeah. When
he's got no emotion, right?
When he pins Bob to the wall and he steps back and he just kind of like tilts his head and he like looks at it like somebody looking at a piece of art or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just it's unsettling to a degree that it doesn't register well because your brain is telling you you're seeing a human, but the actions you're seeing are so robotic and so unhuman like
it's weird.
It is, and that's what makes him such a classic character. What makes Freddy a classic character? His smart ass remarks and his funny jokes as he's chasing people
Scary
around.
Terry. Hey, bitch.
Yeah, Scary Terry, right? Yeah, precisely.
Oh,
but that's exactly what that's exactly how he was.
God.
And then Jason Voorhees, the same thing, the hockey mask, chainsaw, or whatever he could find to kill whatever.
Whatever
just this
it
unstoppable beast that just keeps coming.
He was a beast.
Yeah. And here's Michael Myers. They never really, I mean, the future movies go on to explain it a little bit more, as the other movies do in the other slasher franchises too. But like in this original one, it's just like we don't know. Like there are some supernatural elements that happen, and there are some weird things that occur. But overall, like it's never really explained what Michael is. Like,
I mean,
is he
gets
possessed?
shot.
Is he just a really strong freak of nature? Like what's going on here?
I don't think he feels pain at all.
Yeah, but I think John Carpenter did a really good job of conveying that.
Totally,
in the movie,
definitely.
So I thought that was really well done. And that was an interesting little tidbit of information that I found there. I thought this was really interesting too. So as many people might know, movies are often shot out of sequence because it doesn't make budgetary, because of budget and other reasons, it doesn't really make sense to shoot a movie from the start of the script all the way through. So
and schedules too.
And schedules come into play and all sorts of stuff like that. The movie was shot out of sequence, right? So John Carpenter created like a fear scale, or a terror scale rather, for Jamie Lee Curtis. So she knew, like, coming into it how scared to be. Like, okay, you're at a 5 or whatever. Yeah. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
That's a good way to keep things,
to gauge it. Yeah, because she's like, she doesn't know. Is this part of the movie going to be at the very end? Is this like the first time she's seeing Michael? Like, these types of things are questions that we need answers to. So speaking of Jamie Lee Curtis, John Carpenter hired her as a tribute to her mother, Janet Leigh, who was in the Alfred Hitchcock classic Psycho. So that's
so cool.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice little tribute.
Mother and daughter.
And daughter, scary movies, scream queens for sure. So the movie itself was shot in 20 days.
Wow.
In the summer of 1970, or I'm sorry, the spring of 1978. Can you imagine that?
That's crazy.
20 days of your life. And then to make this, and it's like this classic, iconic
huge.
thing.
Yeah.
Granted, post-production probably took about as long, if not longer, but still.
Just to shoot all that, like that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then talking about the movie parts being made, the theme to the Halloween was scored obviously by John Carpenter. He wrote the music. And the main theme is written in a rare 5/4 time signature. And John Carpenter learned that rhythm from his father. So you being a drummer, I thought that was a super fun fact.
Yeah.
And not just a regular fun fact, but a super fun fact. I love it. I gotta have a different color combo for those. Those gotta be gold. But also, in addition to that, the score that John Carpenter wrote, he wrote it in 4 days.
That's so cool.
Right?
That's impressive.
Again,
like just to get it all done in such a fast time.
This classic sound that is like present and has been used and mimicked in movies, and has just kind of set the precedent for everything. 4 days. Yeah. 4 days, a week worth of work.
I mean, there's I'm trying to think, was there like maybe 3 or 4 like main parts that you hear, like all that, but I mean that alone like stands out for the longest time. Like
it really does.
And it's still spooky to this day. Like you hear that anywhere, you're like, Halloween. Like it's never gonna go away.
And we commented on that about the score of the movie. Like when we were watching it, like it almost drowns itself out when you're watching the movie.
Does.
Like
going into those scenes.
Yeah, like it's like I didn't even realize the music was there. And that's how I honestly feel that is how you know a movie has solid music, when you can almost forget that it's there.
Yeah,
that it's so immersive, you feel like you're in there.
And it's perfect because it's not like a lot going on musically. It's like 1 or 2 notes.
It's very simple.
Like it's just 3 notes, just repetitive over and over, arpeggiated over and over again.
Right.
And like it's so simple, but it works.
It works
so well.
It does, and it's effective, and they use it. It's very talented. I mean, it's just unbelievable, and it stood the test of time. Obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, in the new movie that's coming out, apparently John Carpenter liked the idea so much that he offered to score the movie too. So this new one that's coming out
will be a part of too.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
I think he produced it and he wrote the score for it. So
nice.
And this is as close as we're gonna get to an actual John Carpenter sequel to this shit. So man, let's do it. This I also thought was interesting. So that opening point of view sequence. It took them 2 days to film. So not only 2 days.
Which
so
part of which?
This is the one where they show like in the very beginning of the movie where it just like the camera's moving and you see it's supposed to be Michael outside of the house and he's like looking in and he watches his sister and her boyfriend go upstairs and he grabs the knife.
Okay, that part.
So that whole scene took 2 days to film. So out of the 20 days of filming, 2 of those days were dedicated to this. That's a lot.
I wonder what delay or what caused that
probably
to be a 2-day.
Probably because it never. I think it never cut. If you watch it, like it never really does a cut.
Oh yeah,
so it's just like one tracking shot, like the whole time. Like it never cuts away. And I think I have another fun fact in here about that scene was actually that a lot of people think it is one long scene, but it's actually 3 separate scenes. But we'll get to it.
Huh.
Yeah. So apparently, prior to the movie being made, a book was written by a gentleman named Curtis Richards, and it reveals a lot more of Michael's rage. But apparently the book is very rare, which just makes me want it even more now.
Of course.
It's just like, oh my God.
There's only 2 made.
Like, I got to find out this stuff. Even if I hate it, I'm going to love it. So John Carpenter on set, he was actually quite intimidated by Donald Pleasence. He was a huge fan, and Donald Pleasence obviously was the most experienced actor on the set that they had. And
who was that guy?
Dr. Loomis.
Okay,
the doctor. Okay. When Donald Pleasence asked John Carpenter like questions about his character and like motivations and stuff like that, John Carpenter was nervous, but Donald Pleasence ended up being really good humored about it. They said he had a big heart, and they actually became great friends, the 2 of them. And Donald Pleasence went on to appear in 2 other films for John Carpenter.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that's always pretty awesome.
That's at least he's not like, come on, kid, like get
your shit together.
Like he's like working with them and like especially like I'm curious on how much he got paid. Was he like the highest?
Donald Pleasence was definitely, he's the top bill for this, so he got paid probably a lot. I'm sure I could dig through these fun facts and
most
find
of the money probably went to him. But
I do know that Jamie Lee Curtis, since this was her first feature, she was only paid $8,000 for her efforts. Still, for 20 days worth of work, $8,000.
Dude, that's pretty
not
sweet.
Fucking bad.
That's pretty sweet.
Even by 1978 standards, that's
like,
not bad. How much is $8,000 in 2018 monies?
2018 monies.
Yeah.
Gotta look it up. Well, in 20 days you get $8,000. That's, I'm trying to do math right now. What is math?
What is math?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Google, what do you got for me, buddy?
What you got, Google?
So $8,000 from 1978.
Oh, cool. The actual.
Oh yeah, man. I don't.
Was it saving.org?
Saving.org.
All right, let's see this hyperinflation.
Would be $31,000 today.
Whoa.
Almost 34 or 32. $31,758.33.
Making that
20
days.
Change. That's not bad.
Even that $8,000 these days, I would take that for 20 days.
I know. So yeah,
that's like.
Let's go be actors. Let's go be actors. Fuck all this podcast shit. No one listens to this crap anyway.
Somebody get us in film.
Somebody get us a camera and get us on film.
We're already on a camera. You know what we can do. We can do better. So just get us on film. We'll practice.
We'll practice.
I'll
get
make
it done.
$31,000 in 20 days.
I wish, man. That would be the goal for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of not having any money, like we don't. This is another. Just something that happens with indie films, like all these weird things that, like these fun facts that come out that, help make the movie what it is. And Evil Dead has a lot of this stuff. Clerks and like Kevin Smith's movies have a lot of this stuff in it, like this kind of just like we just made it work sort of thing. And we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
How like that sometimes forces you to be better and make a better thing.
Yeah.
When you have to work around the budgetary constraints.
Exactly.
Budgetary constraints. But for this one, all the actors wore their own clothes because there was no money to have a costume department. So everyone just kind of
thanks, Doc,
wore what they had. Yeah, right. I know.
Because of your high salary,
nobody
could get new clothes.
So this is funny because you and I talked about this while we were watching the movie and made several comments about it. And then I read that this was one of the things on our list here, so I thought this would be interesting. But so the movie was actually shot in the springtime in Southern California, as we said. It's supposed to be late October in Illinois.
Yeah, that does not look like
the cast and crew. They had to buy paper leaves from and paint them in autumn colors, and then scatter them on the filming locations. And then after a scene was filmed, they would collect all the leaves again and reuse them in the next scene. But also it's funny because apparently in the DVD commentary, which we should probably watch, Jamie Lee Curtis and John Carpenter also make mention that the trees are quite full, and they are green, and there are even some palm trees that can be seen despite it being October in late Illinois.
Yes.
Obviously there are no palm trees in Illinois.
Nope.
It's a lot colder than it appears there.
It's a lot colder.
Usually there's no leaves on the trees by the time.
Yeah, they usually falling off, and it's usually raining, and kids are slipping on the leaves while they're trick-or-treating.
We live right in the heart of it.
God, somebody save us! Take us out of this,
please,
state.
For the love of God. The stabbing sound effect was achieved by stabbing a knife into a watermelon.
Oh,
yeah, I thought that was kind of cool.
Did they eat the watermelon after they stabbed it and cut it open?
They did not say.
Man.
I hope so. I hope no watermelons were wasted during the filming of this movie.
I'm so delicious.
I'm gonna send a tweet to John Carpenter to ask him.
Please tell me you ate that watermelon.
Because that's gonna bug me. I'm gonna not like this movie anymore because of that. Wasting food, there's just no need for it.
How dare you? There's a drought in California, and you're wasting watermelon.
This is another. So one of the other difficulties of filming in the springtime and in California is where the fuck do you get pumpkins?
True. Can't go to Goldberg's pumpkin farm.
No, you can't. But so the crew had a hard time gathering pumpkins for this movie. But I mean, that's another
especially
something you wouldn't even think about. Like, where do we get pumpkins this time of year? And then here's another little thing that speaks volumes about this being an indie movie. Again, the dark lighting comes out of necessity since the crew didn't have enough money for lights. So we don't have enough money for lights.
We'll use the dark.
We don't have enough money to film in the actual location and the time of year, so we have to use leaves that pick them up in California. We don't have enough money for a costume department, so everyone's got to wear their own clothes. I could just be seeing everybody on the set of this movie and being like, "What the fuck is going on here?"
That's why they didn't eat the watermelon. They needed to save it for the other stab soundings.
The watermelon was used for the cast catering afterwards. This I thought was funny. So again, here's another one of these things that comes up in these type of movies. So the Myers house was located in South Pasadena. It was largely decrepit and abandoned. For the part of the film, that had to look like a normal furnished house, right? Because when they were living in it had to look good, right?
Yeah.
So in order to get that to happen, most of the cast and crew, they worked together and they cleaned up the house. They moved in furniture. They put up wallpaper. They even set up running water and electricity.
Wow.
And then when the filming was done, they had to take it all out. So
Jesus,
I thought that was kind of interesting.
What did they need the water for if they never used it in the movie?
I don't know. I mean, I guess if they were filming there for a couple of days, I don't know. Maybe they used it as like a base of locations or something like that.
True.
I don't know.
Well, maybe the county was like, well, if you're going to use this with electricity, you need water running too. Like, you gotta have the permits and everything.
I mean, it could be. There's weird shit like that happens with a lot of this stuff. So the writer's goal was to make the film like a radio play, which has scares every 10 minutes. So I'd say that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
There's something jolting
He's always peeking around corners like, oh shit.
Yeah, there's always something going on. The killer, we talked about this before we started recording, but the killer is referred to as the Shape in the script and in the credits. Mm-hmm. And I thought this was interesting. The word shape was used in the Salem witch trial by the Salem witch trials judges to describe specters or spirits of the accused doing mischievous or harmful things to another person. I thought that was kind of cool.
That definitely fits Michael Myers.
And then, so finally, maybe not finally, let's see. It depends on where I'm at on my list of shit here. So John Carpenter's direction to Nick Castle, who played Michael Myers, was very minimal apparently. So there's a story that says when Castle asked what Meyer's motivation was for a particular scene, Carpenter replied that his motivation was to walk from one set marker to another.
Do your job.
Do your job. And
Just
Carpenter.
walk.
Yeah, Carpenter also instructed Castle to tilt his head a couple times as if he was observing the corpse. So, as we talked about in that one scene where he does his head tilt when he
shanks him in the belly. Sticks him into the wall.
Sticks Bob to the wall.
Jesus.
So,
shish kebab.
There are many, 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 many more.
Wow.
Fun facts.
It's like 5 pages.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff here.
Not even halfway through.
I know, right? So, let's just jump right into some of the awards and stuff that the movie wrote, and then we'll start getting. Well, let's talk about the critic response to Halloween. So, the critical response at the time was, well, what do you think? Based on, you've seen a couple of horror movies now. We watched a couple of classics and things like that. What do you feel?
They usually like shit on it right away.
Yeah.
Like instantly, like, I don't like it. And then everyone loves it and they're like, oh, I changed my mind. Or they still stick to what they said 20 years ago.
Yep.
But I don't know. I mean, this one, I'd say they probably shat on it too.
Okay.
And then it made $46 million, and then they said they loved it.
They loved it, right. Money. Oh, I love this movie.
Oh, yeah.
So upon its initial release, it did perform well. So it wasn't like The Thing where it didn't do well, which I was surprised.
Yeah.
It relied mostly on word of mouth. And the critics seemed to be...
Back then, I mean...
That's the way you had to do it.
Word of mouth, man.
Yeah. And the critics seemed to be uninterested or dismissive of the film. The New Yorker said that Carpenter doesn't seem to have Carpenter doesn't seem to have had any life outside of the movies. One can trace almost every idea on screen to the directors such as Hitchcock, Brian De Palma, and to the Val Lewton productions. Claiming that maybe when a horror film is stripped of everything but dumb scariness, when it's still, I'm sorry, I'm just fucking this up royally. Let's start over with this. Maybe when a horror film is stripped of everything but dumb scariness, when it isn't ashamed to revive the stalest device from the genre, escaped lunatic, it satisfies part of the audience in a more basic, childish way than any sophisticated horror picture can do. Okay. All right.
People like basic shit.
Yes,
like,
they do.
You overcomplicate it, then they'll just walk away. They want the simplest, scariest thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what.
So I think probably what he's referring to is like this is not on par with like Rosemary's Baby, where it's like this is kind of just mindless violence.
Yeah.
And this part where he says it satisfies part of the audience in a more basic, childish way than more sophisticated horror films.
Definitely.
Like that's obviously that's what screams out at me. This was interesting. Roger Ebert, who is often a vocal critic against slasher films, praised Halloween upon its initial release.
Nice.
And we were just talking about Roger Ebert a couple weeks ago and how
didn't he change his mind a few times? Like
yeah, he did on a couple of movies. Yeah, the Los Angeles Times deemed the film a well-made but empty and morbid thriller. The Miami Times said it was surprisingly good, taking note that. It's on its own level. Halloween is a terrifying movie if you are the right age and in the right mood. Okay.
Yeah.
The Detroit Free Press branded Halloween a begrudgingly I can't even say this. I'm not even going to attempt it. Begrudging cult film at the time of its begrudging a cult film at the time of its release, describing it as moody in the extreme. God, I cannot read for shit tonight. We should not start recording this after 11 o'clock. After that,
we're too tired.
Yeah, too tired. It's been a long fucking day.
Too long.
Yeah.
We're not getting paid for this.
It didn't get very good critical reviews.
That's fine.
When it came out, but today
showed them.
Obviously, it has. Great reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. It has a 93%.
Damn.
On I believe it was IMDb. It had an 8.5.
Bravo.
I think, and I don't remember. I didn't write it down.
Oh, shit.
Out of all the work I did, I forgot to write that down. And then on Metacritic, it has a 78 out of 100. So that's pretty favorable, I'd say.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
I like it.
So. One of the things many people, and we talked about this earlier, many people compare the film to Alfred Hitchcock. There's a lot of comparisons to Psycho. This film definitely left a legacy. the movie, we talked about this, how the movie it's not really that violent. It's not really that gory.
Yeah.
Like, I can't really think of much gore outside of the few blood splatters that are shown on people after the fact, after they've been killed or died. Like, it's not like modern day movies where they're showing someone's head getting chopped off and blood spewing out,
all this stuff.
It's very subtle. It definitely takes its time.
Yeah.
And
it's more of a mental, like, he's always peeking around every corner and you're like, oh, where is he? And then bam.
I think it's
more of a mental
exactly.
psych.
And it does that. What other slashers don't do. Other slashers go for that, like, shock, like how, like that's what I feel the Friday the 13th movies are like. Whenever I watch a Friday the 13th
crazy shit,
I'm just like, let me see the crazy kills. Like, I want to watch him dip somebody's head in fucking God, what was that? Liquid nitrogen, and then hold their head up and smash it like he did in Jason X. Like, that shit is crazy. Like, that's just awesome. But this was very, he used what he had. He strangled them most of the time. He stabbed a guy or two.
I mean, someone who breaks out of a mental institution, that's kind of all they got anyway.
Yeah.
So, like, you can't go buy a gun. Like, he'll go find a knife and use what he can to strangle.
And I think that's where some of the recent remakes kind of took off a little bit in the wrong direction. So if you don't know about Halloween, here's the gist of Halloween. So Halloween 1 was made. It was a big success. They made Halloween 2. I think John Carpenter and Deborah Hill wrote it and produced it, but I don't believe he directed it. I'm pretty sure he didn't direct it. So originally Halloween was supposed to be like an anthology film series. Like, every year or so they would do another Halloween movie, and it would be a totally separate horror story told. So the first movie was so successful, though, they wanted to obviously bank in on that, so they made Halloween 2.
Of course.
So then Halloween 3 kind of continues along that idea that we're going to make these different movies. And Halloween 3 Season of the Witch actually doesn't have Michael Myers in it at all.
Really?
It's about a company who makes Halloween masks that sells them to kids that's going to turn them into little monsters or whatever. And it's been a while since I've seen it.
It's so far from
when I watched it when I was a kid, I hated it because I was like, where's Michael Myers? I want to see the blood and stuff.
That's what I would be expecting.
So but in recent years it's actually gotten a lot of praise as a really good movie, because when it first came out everybody was like, what the fuck, I'm not gonna watch this
bullshit.
So Season of the Witch kind of took that whole idea, like, hey, we're gonna do a different iteration of this and we're gonna do a different movie every time. Obviously they scrapped it, and number 4 was The Return of Michael Myers, and then number 5 was The Curse of Michael Myers or whatever, and then 6 was whatever, and then then the story went from, like, it was Laurie was his sister, and
I remember that.
Yeah,
there was a sister part somewhere.
There was
right?
a sister, and he was killing them, and then there was something about some weird cult that was like grooming Michael from a child, and that was the one with Paul Rudd. I don't remember.
Paul Rudd?
Paul Rudd, yeah. I think it was Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. He was in that one. So then it goes like off the rails, and then it goes into Halloween H2O, which is supposed to be 20 years after the first movie. Jamie Lee Curtis revitalizes her role as Laurie once again. She's like a teacher in a school, like a prep school with her son, and obviously Michael escapes and all hell breaks loose and stuff. It's actually not a bad little movie. Yeah, it's not too bad.
I think I might have seen that one.
It came out when we were in like 8th grade or something like that, but it wasn't too bad. So then that movie led to, I think, Halloween Resurrection and then Homecoming or whatever. There's a movie with Busta Rhymes. Either way, there's a bunch of sequels. They weren't all that good. The one with Busta Rhymes was cool because Busta Rhymes like beats the shit out of him with a baseball bat. It's kind of interesting.
Busta Rhymes the only one who beats him up.
It's actually a pretty interesting movie because, like, basically the premise of the film is it's a reality TV show, and kids put on cameras and they go around the house and they have to stay the night in the Myers house.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like,
where's Busta in this movie?
He is like the producer of the show. Like, he's like the host of the reality show.
Like
I don't think he's playing Busta Rhymes in it, but yes. That would make it even better, though. But I remember
Pin My Ride exhibit.
I remember liking it for its silliness and its craziness.
I want to see it now.
It wasn't bad. And then obviously we did the remakes / reboots or whatever it was with Rob Zombie. He made 2 of them. It went into a little bit more of Michael Myers when he was a kid and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then they said again just recently, no, fuck all that. So all of the movies that came after Halloween 1, everything never happened. Now this movie that's coming out next week is the true sequel to Halloween 1. So forget everything you saw, people. Now is the real sequel.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't see any of the other ones.
I'm glad I didn't see
this first one.
I've seen them. I've seen them all
classic.
at different times. I don't remember them all, but I have definitely seen them all. So yeah, that's kind of like the story where we're at right now that got us to here.
So much.
Yeah, pretend like nothing. When you see Halloween next week, or the following Monday, pretend like nothing happened in those other movies.
No,
that movie with Paul Rudd. Never happened.
Who's Paul Rudd?
Paul Rudd who? I'm sure he would want it to never happen either, because he's probably like, oh God, that movie.
Busta's probably like, this
look
is
at him now.
Like,
I love that when you see like actors now, like Paul Rudd's obviously he's Ant-Man, he's in all the funny movies,
Yeah.
he's super build actor.
Yeah.
And he one of his first movies was Clueless and Halloween fucking Curse of Michael Myers.
Clueless was pretty good though.
Clueless was amazing. I love that movie. I was actually thinking the other day, like, damn, if they remade Clueless today, like it could actually do really well as like a social commentary, because it was a social commentary on like kids and excess and stuff back then, but even now, like, oh my God, it would be like ridiculous. Like everyone is fucking clueless these days. Whoa, hey now,
we brought that back
watch out,
around.
this kitten's got claws.
What? Remember we heard that cat noise, but it was just saying,
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Where's my keys? All I hear is it's like, oh, dude, there's a cat in this video.
There's a cat in this video.
It's her with her keys.
It's just Jamie Lee Curtis with her keys.
Jamie Lee Kitty.
So yeah, how we doing on time here?
Well, it's about tool time, so it's about 11:35.
Oh man! All right, so we should get into our closing thoughts.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of continuity errors that I could sit and read for you guys, but
days
it's so much stuff.
And
maybe
I'm
we'll touch on a
tired.
couple of them when we watch the new movie, since it will be a new movie. We won't have a whole lot of this to kind of, there will be the critic role reviews and stuff like that, but we won't be talking about like its legacy, fun facts and stuff. We could do a little bit, but maybe we'll take part of that episode and use it to kind of discuss the fuck ups in Halloween, because there are a lot of them. Naturally, a bunch of kids making a movie on a low budget. I mean, what do you expect? Again, movie holds up. So, final thoughts, Kyle. Go ahead, lay it on me.
Oh God, it was terrifying. No, it was good. I would give it a 5 out of 5.
A 5 out of 5?
Yeah, because I mean, every Halloween, there's a movie you can watch called Halloween that will scare you about somebody killing people on Halloween. So it's just, for the marketing purposes, genius.
Brilliant.
For the way that he kills people because he's a psychopath and can't get any other tools besides a knife and maybe a telephone cord, genius. In Illinois, the most scariest state in the world, fucking Chirac, genius.
Chirac? What the fuck is Chirac? Is that what people call Hampshire?
No, it's what they call Chicago, Chirac.
Oh God, because of the
murder.
shootings. Oh Jesus
It's worse
Christ.
than Iraq.
My God, people are so funny.
So yeah, just with everything,
Chirac.
It's good.
I'm Chirac-y.
Oh my God.
Oh man, I'm gonna totally say that.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, with the results, $46 million for a $300,000 budget. Like that's pretty good.
That's not bad, right?
I like that. Good job.
Yeah, honestly, like this is another one of those, like The Thing. This is one of those perfect horror movies for me. It's a classic. I've been watching this movie since I can remember. I don't even remember the first time I saw it. I know I was scared when I saw it. I remember running to my dad and my dad being like, well, why are you fucking watching it then? Stop watching it. And then I would go watch a little more and I'd run, Dad. He's like, what are you still doing? I think my parents were having a poker night or something like that, because I remember
quit bothering me.
Yeah, but either way, it's a staple for me, and there was a point in time in my life where I did watch it every Halloween, every year.
It is, yeah. It's one of those movies.
It's one of those movies.
It's gonna be on TV all the time too.
It's just like when you watch "It's a Wonderful Life" around Christmas. It's one of those. It is though. It really it's that it's that tentpole of it's that much of a staple. Halloween, The Exorcist. Evil Dead, The Thing. Like these are these, Rosemary's Baby, which I talked about earlier. These are these like paramount achievements in horror that have transcended time. And it wasn't just this shitty little movie. It was, this shitty violent movie. It became something more. It had this following and became this iconic thing, and it set the precedent and set the bar for everybody else afterwards. You know,
definitely.
Every slasher that came out after Halloween, how's it compare to Halloween? Every single one. So the Halloween legacy obviously has been tarnished with several shitty sequels, and there are people who will defend them to the bitter end. And there are,
Rhymes.
and they're fun. They're fun watches.
Yeah.
I do remember watching Curse of Michael Myers recently and being like, oh God, this is painful. And it was like, it was so stupid and so lame, but like it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
They're all silly, campy movies.
Yeah.
But for the most part, this one is the most subtle. It's the most, I think you could tell that it has the most passion behind it too. And I hope the new one kind of reaches that same level. And I heard it does. So
if he's willing to get into it.
Yeah,
then
apparently
you
he
think
liked the idea so much he jumped on board, which says a lot.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, and a lot of people are calling this the true sequel. So
that's awesome.
I'm excited to see it. It looks really cool. The acting looks great. Everything, even down to the colors look just fantastic. So I'm excited for it. So Halloween 1, I guess that's what we're calling it. Halloween
Uno.
Halloween 1978. So we'll have to Halloween 1978 and then Halloween 2018 is coming out. The original is just a classic that has just stood the test of time. And
what do you rate it?
I would rate it a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, most definitely. Perfect movie.
Yeah.
For me, obviously.
For me, it's so, I guess it's like, not really, I guess it's kind of basic in its own ways.
It is.
It's simplified that it works so well.
Yep.
And that's why I think I like it a lot, because I do love things that get complicated and stuff too, but like the more simple and stuff, you could just watch and just be a part of the movie and kind of get drawn in by the music and stuff. Like, it was perfect.
Yeah.
Just so little things going on that kind of, here's the spooky part, there's the music, like it pops out. Like that's what it's all about.
It is.
The simple
and
things.
This movie set the standard for that moving forward. So
that's cool.
Yeah, congrats to Halloween and John Carpenter. You deserve all the success.
Yeah,
in
especially
the world.
Making another one.
Yeah,
2018.
Fucking.
That's gonna be the actual sequel. Finally.
Right? Fucking what is it? 40 years later,
Jesus.
we're going at it. Jesus.
That's crazy that it can withstand that much time and all right, we're gonna go back and just make like a sequel that all this never ever happened. And we'll just redo it.
It's like Superman Returns. That's exactly what they did. They said Superman, Superman 3 and 4 never happened. Just picks up right after Superman 2. So, it works, right?
Like, all right, whatever.
Yeah,
who cares?
Whatever. It works.
We'll follow you.
So yes, go see Halloween. Go see the sequel.
I can't wait to go.
I can't wait
it's
to go either.
Sweet.
I'm super excited to check it out. So Halloween 1978, 10 out of 10 for Kyle. 10 out of 10 for Zach. If you haven't seen it, it's a classic. Do yourself a favor, sit down with some friends and check it out this Halloween season.
Go see the next new one right after that.
And then go see the next one.
Yeah.
Because that's the way it's supposed to go in the story order.
Perfect.
All right.
It's perfect.
All right.
Good.
Thank you, everybody.
We're tired. We're going
to bed.
Peace. He's sleeping, everybody.
What?
Okay. We're ending it now.
Good night, everyone.